Awesome. So, it's a pleasure to have you back on. You have a new project out coming out called Nude Noir that you are bringing to the US. It's not necessarily your project, you're just helping bring it to LA. What is Nude Noir all about?
So, Nude Noir is an erotic performance art company. So, it the way that they structure their shows is a little bit immersive, specifically for the VIP members or the VIP ticket holders. Um, it's definitely a theatrical show. Every show that they do has a different kind of overlying like narrative-ish, but it's not really a narrative in the traditional sense. It's sort of a theme that they all follow.
Hmm.
These shows incorporate fetish and kink elements like shibari, rope tying, and wax play and smoke play. There are definitely figures in the show that are the dominatrix
Hmm.
personas and then the submissive personas. So it takes a look at the relationships between dominatrix and submissives. It just takes a look at the variety of ways that humans are intimate with each other and it's seductive with each other. So it's really a look at sensuality.
Hmm.
um it is not porn, it's not a sex party, it's not um yeah, it's it's easier to say what it's not than to explain what it is. And unfortunately, or fortunately for the cast, we do not allow any sort of video or photos from the audience. So I know for a lot of people there's a lot of mystery surrounding like what is nude noir, because there isn't content online for people to view, out of respect for the performers and their privacy, and keeping that cloud of mystery so that the audience truly doesn't really know what to expect, so that when they walk in there's no preconceived ideas, and no expectations about what you're going to see. So you really just get to go and live in the moment and experience this sense, this seductive, you know ethos.
Hmm. That sounds fantastic. And there's a very exclusive nature to this. You have to sign up in order to get the link to purchase tickets. Why have it be so exclusive? So, you know,
Yeah, so yeah, it's something that the company has done in London for the last 12 years that they've been in existence. So we wanted to keep the same protocol for their shows. They're coming to New York the week before that they will be in LA. So the same protocol has been um, confirmed, and that's what we're doing in the United States as well. But for a lot of these types of events and a lot of these, sort of like members only experiences or things where you do have to apply, part of it is because of the seductive and sensual nature and the content.
Mhm.
So just making sure that that we start a dialogue with anyone that is interested to come to the show, understand them, they understand us, so that there's no miscommunication between what's expected, what's not okay, what is allowed, um, and that's an understood consent between us as the producers and you as the audience, so that it's sort of already, you're brought into this world and you're understanding what is, again, what's allowed and what's not when you get to nude noir. um you know so it's partially that. It's also partially just a vetting process to make sure that we curate the audience that's there, that we curate the experience so that everyone is on the same page and everyone is open-minded and excited to be there, and there's eliminating any sort of hiccups that we might foresee. um but pretty much it's starting that immersive experience right from the get-go. As soon as you apply, Madame Noir responds to you, so you already start to this interface with Madame Noir and get a sense of the world.
Uh, your production company does a lot of these immersive performances. How did Nude Noir fit into your brand, and why was it that you wanted to bring this to LA?
Yeah, so I got connected to Nude Noir through Madman's Playground after I produced our last show, Van Helsing's Dracula. Um, so Nude Noir is actually not it's not done through Madman's Playground. I have a separate production company outside of that called the Madman. And so the distinction for me is that Madman's Playground is a circus company.
Mhm.
Anything else that I do through the Madman production company, a lot of my work as a performer, as a producer, as a creative outside of Madman's Playground, a lot of it dabbles in the like seductive, erotic space. Um, so, I run a bunch of cabaret shows. I help produce a erotic performance art company here in LA. So a lot of people that know me know that I'm already in that erotic space.
Mhm.
So when I was connected to Nude Noir, it just sort of made sense because it's something that I'm already involved in the LA nightlife scene.
Mhm.
But it was cool that, through Madman's Playground, somebody saw really like the caliber of production that I'm capable of putting together and the experience as a whole from Madman's Playground. They mentioned were like, I think this would be a really great fit for Nude Noir. And when I spoke to Britt, who's the creator and founder of Nude Noir, we had a very similar outlook on the performance space and what that should look like and feel like, and how, just how we produce our shows. So
Mhm.
it was a naturally good fit for the two of us. And again, because I already dabble in that kind of erotic, sensual performance space, it just made sense to bring it, and for me to jump onto the project. As far as bringing it to LA, I do feel like LA has a niche that is sort of lacking as far as the erotic performance art realm. There's a lot of burlesque shows, there's a lot of cabaret shows, there's a lot of, if you are in the kink scene, there are, dungeon parties and there's sex parties and there's so much in the erotic space, but very little of it is specifically catered to performance.
Mhm.
Most of it is a play party or a sex party or something that is actually, you need to get HIV tested for it, and you need to, there's just a lot more safety precautions around it, which totally makes sense when there's any sort of penetration. Because this is strictly a show, it's a theatrical look at that space, and it's a creative, very classy, elevated experience that focuses on kink and fetish and, has elements of that, but again, it's a very elevated artistic look at it. And
Mhm.
I don't feel like LA currently has anything that fits that niche.
Definitely. It sounds like it's a level above most of these cabaret or burlesque shows. But when it comes to Madman's Playground and Van Helsing's Dracula, going out to see that was quite the experience. But I was quite impressed because you're also very involved in the production. You were moving around. You were doing so much. Uh, how fun is it for you to not just put out the production, but also help out during the production?
I mean, um it's both fun and also inconvenient, I would say. As a producer, I would love to be able to just like sit back and experience the show as an audience member when it's taking place. Um, However, that being said, I think there's also an element of stress that takes place and anxiety inducing when my hands aren't like fully involved and I actually have zero control over any of it. Whereas when I'm physically doing things and I'm needed to stage manage, or I'm needed to pull lines, or I'm needed to hang rigging, or, whatever the case may be, and wherever I'm needed, it's a lot more calming for me, knowing that I'm physically in charge and actually able to do those things,
Mhm.
instead of relying on somebody else and just hoping that they don't mess it up.
Mhm.
I'm a very type A personality that way, of like, I know that I can do it correctly and I know that it won't, you know, that the show will go smoothly if my hands are fully involved. So I don't even want to say that it's necessarily fun. I think it's more of a anxiety, like an anxiety reduction technique. um, but being that I am a performer and a circus person and I enjoy doing all of that stuff, and that's why I'm in this world, and it's why I chose to be part of this industry is just I love every aspect of it, whether it is being physically on stage or backstage or running the entire show. um yeah, I hope that answered the question.
It definitely did, and that leads into my next question, which is your performances and your productions are very are usually female led and female driven. Why is that important to you?
Yeah, as someone who has been in the nightlife scene in LA for, I guess now I don't know, going on like almost 14 years. Um, Most of the time, and again, not all the time, most of the time, the venues that we work in, bars, restaurants, nightclubs, most of them are male dominated. Um, whether it's the general managers, the bartenders, the sound technicians, the lighting technicians, I mean, generally the owners of the spaces, the owners of the venues are generally male. Um, Again, not always, and they're generally lovely people.
Mm-hmm.
However, there is something to be said about the way that a burlesque or cabaret show functions and is run, and sort of the expectations behind it. Um, it's a trickier world to navigate as a female performer in that space,
Hmm.
because there is sort of a natural power dynamic between men and women, unspoken, but it's definitely there, of sort of the women are generally the submissives and the men are generally the dominating sex when it comes to that power dynamic. So it was really important for me as a female who has been in that world for so long, that creating a space that is female led and female guided, there's not that power dynamic, and it's a very more, that's not even English. Um, but it just changes the way that the performers come into the space and present themselves in the space. And for a lot of my performers have just mentioned that it's a much safer space for them, and it feels like a space where they feel seen, they feel respected, they feel acknowledged, heard, like all of their questions or their like reservations are sort of put at ease, which then in turn also makes them much better performers, much better, like they give you their all in that situation, because they don't feel like they're being taken advantage of, they don't feel like they're not being like heard, that they're not being listened to. um and so it just changes things, and part of it is just me as a human, that I really I like to take care of my performers, because I've been in so many situations where I have not been taken care of, and I've been shoved into a bathroom to get ready, and all of my stuff is stored in just a general office space where people are constantly coming in and out, and all of my personal belongings are stored in that space. Or I've been thrown into situations where the costuming was way less clothing than I was prepared for in a given situation, or so it just changes it. So as someone that has lived through all of that, it was really important to me that I bring on, and again, it's not all women that are at the head of the departments that I bring on, but having it be primarily female led and female dominant is, it just changes the way that that system functions on the back end.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time. I'm so happy to talk to you and promote stuff like this because, like you said, you do bring a safe space. It is a fantastic show that you put on, and I think you having that experience in the past has help to bring a higher quality to the performances you get out of
Well,
people.
thank you.
And
Thank you. Well, it's always great to talk to you, and I'll continue to let you know when I have things coming up.